Several years ago, Donnelly, my wife, and I were returning from our vacation in Ponderay Lake over in the panhandle of Idaho. I don't know if you're familiar with that part of the country or not, but it's wonderful country. As we were coming back across eastern Washington in the late part of July, it was hot and parched and dry. And as we were driving along, I asked Donnelly to hand me my portfolio off the back seat of the car. She did, and I drove with my knee for the next few seconds, and I scribbled down these words. There lives inside each of us a genius, a power, a capacity, an untapped potential. This possibility for being and becoming is seen in the shadows of our past achievements, the mists of our dreams and aspirations. We tap our potential by gaining confidence from our successes, accepting responsibility for our present, and committing to our goals. I haven't changed a word of that paragraph. I don't know where it came from. I've never had an experience quite like that before or since. I realized that there were 6 components. Let's go back through it together now. There lives inside each of us a genius, a power, a capacity, an untapped potential. How can I help you believe that about yourself? Or do you already believe that about yourself? Now, this is what I've discovered. The average person can see untapped potential in their spouse, their kids, their parents, their siblings, their co-workers, their subordinates, their coordinates. But for them to see it in themselves is a little more difficult. But let me say this now. If you can see potential, untapped potential in all that long list I just rattled off, it's evidence that that same potential lies in you. Often in meetings, I'll say, jot down the name of someone in your view who's living below their potential. And I don't tell anyone where I'm going, just name or initials, and it doesn't take them usually very long to write it down at all. And then I say, what do you think is holding that person back? And I let them make their note. People have thoughts about that. They don't need any coaching from me. And then I say simply this. Let's imagine we cleared the room of all of you and we brought those people whose names you've jotted down into the room. And we asked them to do the same exercise. Write down the name of a person in your opinion is living below their potential. Do you think that some of them might write your name down? Is that possible? There lives inside each of us a genius, a power, a capacity, an untapped potential. That possibility for being and becoming is seen in the shadows of our past achievements. Now, shadows are curious things, aren't they? What determines the length of a shadow? It isn't the height of the pole, is it? It's the angle of the light. In other words, it's how you see it. It's how you hold it. It's your perspective of it. And then as we continue, seen in the shadow of our past achievements, the mists of our dreams and aspirations. I've worked with thousands of adults over the last 40 years, and I know this about you. I know this about me. I know this about everyone who's still living at all, alive at all. We have dreams. We have aspirations. We may have put them on the shelf. We may have told ourselves to be realistic. We may have said, stop dreaming. The minute we stop dreaming, we stop living, don't we? So this possibility for being and becoming is seen in the shadows of our past achievements, the mists of our dreams and aspirations. Emerson said, if he gave you the ability to imagine it, he gave you at the self-same time the ability to achieve it. And then as we continue, we've seen 3 parts now of the 6 ingredients. We tap our potential by gaining confidence from our successes. By gaining confidence from our successes. How do we gain confidence from our successes? Well, first of all, we recognize that we helped make it happen. It wasn't luck, it wasn't fate. Certainly there were others who supported us, others who helped us. There were certain conditions that helped to make it come true. But we can look around and we can see there are others who had those same circumstances and conditions who didn't fare as well as we. All of us have been very successful at something. And I think it's important for you to do as I've done. Make a list of your past achievements. Carry that list with you wherever you go. I don't mean to march down the street holding it up for everyone to see it, but I mean for you to hold it in your own heart. And when you become discouraged and depressed, and if you haven't been that way lately, you will be sometime. We all are. We're human beings. We become depressed, discouraged. We lose heart sometimes. And that's when you take that list out and look at it again. To give you what? To give you the confidence to press on. And then we continue by accepting responsibility for our present. The fifth of these ingredients. Accepting responsibility for our present. Pogo said it this way, one of my favorite philosophers. Pogo said, here's another fine mess I got me into. I love that. Because if I got me into the mess, I can get me out of the mess. Isn't that good news? If someone else did it to me, if I'm a victim, in other words, and we all know plenty of people who are victims, don't we? Again, it may be easier to see how others have taken on that victim role than it is for us to see it in ourselves. If we're victims, we have to wait for someone to help us up. If we say they push me, I got to wait for they to pick me up. There's power in accepting full responsibility for whatever state I'm in, for whatever circumstance I'm in. Because when I accept full responsibility, I can learn from the experience. If I don't accept full responsibility, I can't learn. And I do become a victim. And then finally, number 6, committing to our goals. I've asked so many people, what are your goals? Well, they say, well, I'd hope. I'd like and I hope. Do not goals make. What makes goals? I'm going to say, I will. When we commit to our goals. I've coached thousands of adults in writing their goals out, and they say, well, I don't need to write them out. I know what I want. Well, if you know what you want, what would cause you to resist writing it out? Well, you know the answer, don't you? The answer is, if I write it out, I might miss. Well, does that mean if you don't write it out, you can't miss? If you write it out, you'll clarify your thinking, you'll crystallize your thinking, you'll know what you stand for and where you're going. So I would review with you once again this simple formula, which has become the philosophy statement of Turbo Leadership Systems, a philosophy statement that many have adopted for their own lives. And it says once again, there lives inside each of us a genius, a power, a capacity, an untapped potential. This possibility for being and becoming is seen in the shadows of our past achievements, the mists of our dreams and aspirations. We tap our potential by gaining confidence from our successes, accepting responsibility for our present, and committing to our goals.